Hi. A few years ago, I applied for a master's program in counselling, something that I'd prayed about, I dreamt about, and to be honest, I felt deeply called to. But then there was this moment that I got an email that said, Tracy, before we will consider your application for this master's program, we would like to have a face-to-face meeting with you. Man, I felt myself backpedal so fast. My stomach dropped. My mind started to race with questions and logistics. Is my family up for this? Do I have the capacity to study at university level again? What if I mess up the interview? What if I'm not good enough? Not qualified? What if I don't belong? Can you hear some of the fear debate, fears happening there? Part of me just really wanted to shut the whole idea and tell myself that maybe it wasn't the right time and it was too big a leap for right now. After all, you're on full-time staff, and do you really want to have that added pressure? But here was the truth. Deep down on the inside of me, I had this sense of peace. I knew that this was the pathway forward for me. And even though the fear was really loud, that little pause that I took was a chance for me to rethink and help me remember that this decision was not just about me. It was actually what I felt called to do. This was the next step aligned with my values and my sense of purpose. Hi, my name's Tracy. I am one half of Coach Aligned. I'm a qualified counsellor, coach, pastor, and a recovering control freak, I must admit. Alongside my friend Darlene, we created Coach Aligned as a space for really honest coaching conversations and faith grounding tools to help women like you live aligned and live fully alive to what God's created for you. Welcome back to the Faith in the Fire series, where we're talking about what it really looks like to move from fear to faith in everyday moments. We've looked at step 1 to rethink fear and shift the fear debate in our minds. And then secondly, resetting fear, shifting out of that fear mode, our physiology affecting our psychology. And now this is step 3, where we'll look at reframing fear and turning fear into fuel for your purpose. So, what is this fear debate that I'm talking about? Here's what I've found over the years of coaching and pastoring. Every time you're about to step into something really meaningful, fear starts to have this conversation inside of you. Now, psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, and that's the tension between what you desire and what you fear. I just call it the fear debate. And there's normally 2 main voices. One that says, stay safe, just cruise along, stay comfortable, don't rock the boat. The other says, stop. Danger ahead. Put the brakes on. This is really quite scary. Now, neither voice is telling you the whole truth. And if we are not super intentional, those voices can actually decide our next steps and ultimately decide the pathway that we move forward. Craig Groeschel says that your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. Just think about that for a minute. And fear-based thinking, well, it always moves us towards smaller, safer, and ultimately unsatisfying lives. So there's 3 big fears at the heart of every fear debate. When you stop and rethink, you'll usually find that fear is trying to hook you into one of these 3 core fears. Now, the first fear is the fear of not being loved. If they see the real me, if they see who I really truly am, then they'll judge me and reject me. The second fear is the fear of exclusion, of not belonging. If I mess up, I'll be left out, I'll be ostracized, I'll be alone. The third fear is the fear of not being enough. I'll try my best, I'll give it my best, but I just know that's still not going to be enough, and I'm terrified of coming up short. Now, these three fears are underneath so much of our hesitation and self-protection. So what happens when you actually pause and rethink? Well, when you pause the fear debate, this internal narrative, this internal conversation, you're not pretending that the fear doesn't exist. You're just choosing not to hand it the microphone. You create what I call free space, little pockets between the reaction and response where you actually get to choose your next move. A 2022 study from the Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience found that when people pause and take a moment to rethink their responses, even just a few deep breaths, they're shifting brain activity from your amygdala, fight-flight center, to your prefrontal cortex. And that's associated with clarity and intentional responses, aligned responses with what is most important to you. Now, this simple pause actually activates your decision-making capacity, making it easier to choose faith over fear. It's amazing to me how this just lines up with scripture. Romans 12:2 again, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing your mind starts with noticing the fear debate and choosing a new response. That's where real change begins. So what happens if we don't pause? Well, if we don't pause, we'll either drift back into default settings, old fears, old habits, old shrink back patterns, and we're going to look at our beliefs and such in the future, or we slam the handbrake on and stay stuck, frozen, frustrated, and wondering why we just keep circling around and around the same mountains. But listen, God did not create you to live stuck. You were made to move forward in faith. So here's your challenge this week. Firstly, catch the fear debate when it starts, when you start to notice yourself, sense yourself, your state shifts and you're, oh my gosh, I'm having a conversation. Catch that debate and pause. Take a big breath. Ask yourself, which of the three fears am I tempted to believe? Am I afraid of not being loved? Am I afraid I won't belong? Am I afraid that I won't be enough? And then speak your truth back to fear. Use scripture if you can. It's simple, but so powerful. If this has helped you today, why not drop a comment? Maybe a love heart. Just give me an icon, anything. I'd love to hear what you're rethinking this week. What about this video really spoke to you? And if you're ready to go deeper, I've created this really beautiful faith-filled resource for you called Overcome Fear with Faith and Neuroscience. It's short, easy to use, and packed with tools to help you move from spiraling to steady in real life. Download it for free. The link is up in the bio. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time, because we are about to step into the final step. And trust me, it's going to be the shift that you're waiting for. So till next time, bye.